Welcome to the living room, 2921 Duff Road, Lakeland, Florida, Thursday night, where we're learning how to live healthy, even though we're living in a toxic world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Got a couple more people coming on the Zoom, got some people in the room, and I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint in a moment and get started, get rolling. I'm going to stack some stats tonight. I like the facts and I like the stats so I can stack the facts. And because people need to hear the truth, it might be a little bit to the ears or to the mind or to the heart, because it might be a little bit different than what you've been used to hearing, but truth rings true no matter who you are. I don't care what color skin you have. I don't care what background you have. I don't care what title you have to your name. Truth rings true no matter who you are in the heart. And you know when you've heard truth. The Bible talks about that. I believe it's in the book of Job that when the ears hear truth, it's very similar to the mouth tasting good food. So you can identify it. So I am going to screen share, and I want y'all to give me a thumbs up if you can see my slideshow. All righty. All right. Can you see my slideshow? All right, now I'm going to do one more thing, and then you're going to tell me if you see my slideshow after this. All right, can you see it still? No? All right, this is where it does this. All right, now can you see it? Okay, we're up and running. Awesome. So tonight's class is about whole food health advantage. What advantage do you get when you choose a whole food for your nutrition? Well, we're going to talk about the advantage, and we're going to talk about the disadvantage. You know, if there's an advantage, there's also a disadvantage. And if there's a disadvantage to something, wouldn't you want to know? Yes, absolutely, because we want to know whether or not we are high risk or lowering our risk, increasing our risk for chronic disease or lowering our risk for chronic disease. So we're going to talk about the fact that the way in which God made it. Do you think he really made it perfect, just the way that it is? And we're going to talk about food for the famine. And yes, folks, we are in a food famine in the sense that our nutrition has declined greatly. But it's health advantage by design, just like it's health advantage by design by our creator that designed us and designed food to be our nourishment. It's the same thing that's happening with a systematic design that is all about decline, the decline of our nutrition. What? Yes. So let's get rolling. Let's get started. Well, waiting to get sick from a chronic disease, then managing it is not considered health. Folks, right out of the gate, I'm going to talk about this, that the system is rigged. So let's just throw out a few stats that actually prove and show how the system is really rigged. $4 trillion spent on medical care costs. 95% of that $4 trillion is for disease management. That is a system that says, I'll wait until you get sick with a chronic disease, and then I'll help you manage it. The system is rigged. There are $6 trillion spent on food subsidy programs. Well, what kind of food do you think that food subsidy programs are going to give you? Is it going to be whole food, nutritious food, or is it going to be processed foods? Well, the medical is 40% at this moment, rising higher every day. 40% of our national gross national product. Oh my goodness. So something is driving the incentive, and you're seeing something here from the food corporations to the big pharma to even the insurance agencies. So are we any healthier today than we were 50 years ago? Well, no, we're not. We are sicker, we are fatter, we're more depressed, and we are becoming more and more infertile. Even insurance companies only take 15% loss ratio. The only way to profit if you're an insurance company is to keep getting people sicker. More people that are sick broadens the size of the sick pie. Wow. So food carries the heaviest weight when it comes to health. And that's why I kind of camp out. I raise the flag, and I really dwell a lot in this area of the food, because by design, food carries the heaviest load to the drivers of health or the drivers of chronic disease. 95% of chronic disease can be, and these are stats from the NIH. These are stats for the Center for Disease Control. 95% of chronic disease can be eliminated. So you might think, well, what in the world are we doing if it's 95% can be eliminated? So why do we eat foods over time and develop food habits that undermine our health? And my question to you, I don't know the answer because I don't know your background. I don't know your habits. I don't know the way that you process in your thinking. I don't know what barriers and things that hinder you, but I'm just going to throw out and pose out a few questions. Maybe we do because we just don't know any better. And that's why I do these classes, to help raise your awareness, to help educate. How about convenience? I was once told by someone in marketing, Levon, the only thing that sells in America is convenience. So they conveniently make it real convenient for you to kill yourself. It's slow suicide through food, right? Well, also because of these government subsidy programs that are driven again by the food corporations to make food cheaper when it doesn't have a lot of nutrition in it. Also, maybe we just don't care about the consequences. I've met people in classes and in meetings that just say, well, I don't really care. Gonna die sometime, somewhere, somehow. So who cares about what you put in your mouth and what you eat? And maybe sometimes some people just don't understand the consequences. Again, it's a contrast, and they just are not putting the dots together and putting the links together to understand that the food I'm eating is actually linked to my diabetes or my blood pressure or obesity or any kind of mental disorder, depression, or any of these things. Sometimes it just is a matter of educating people as to something that they're doing that has a consequences to it. Other people, they say, I like sugar and I'm going to continue to eat sugar. I met a lady the other day when I was inviting her to take a look at some of this nutrition, and she goes, oh, I'm so far from nutrition. I just visited A&W Root Beer and had me this tall float and ate me a burger and fries. And she said, I am not interested at all. Okay. And some people just like feeling sick. They just like their sick patterns and their sick habits. And well, we would call that victims All right. And you have to come out of your victimization and want to do better and be motivated to do better. Well, how about this? That uh, we don't give much thought on making the connection to our habits. And some people actually use food as a reward system for them. And they get comfort from their eating foods. I don't know where you fit in that category, but that's something for you to like contemplate and think about. So let's move right along and to finding out what is real food. Let's define real food. On the left side, you're going to see, did you grow it? Did you raise it? Did you shoot it? Did you pick it? Did it have clean water sources? Organic feed? Did it get sunshine? Is it grass fed? Does it have space, or is it cramped into little tiny 4-inch by 4-inch, and then given growth hormones to grow nice and big and plump and fat, and then move to harvest before it dies? That's a little bit of identifying, is what I'm putting in my body real food? Now, you'll notice that I put a label to the right of Lucky Charms. And let's take a look at that ingredients. It says whole grain oats. Oh my goodness, wouldn't that be healthy? Can you pick Lucky Charms off a tree? Can you shoot Lucky Charms in order to dress it out and dress the meat out? Did you feed Lucky Charms organic food? Did Lucky Charms get sunshine? No, it doesn't fit the definition of food. And if you take a look at it, sugar is the second major ingredient, and then high fructose corn syrup, and then a whole bunch of additives, because if it's not real food, guess what happens? It tastes like crap. It tastes like cardboard. So they've got to invent all of these excito flavors in order to get you to get it past your palate and into your stomach. Sound like a plan of the enemy to me. So this is an example of our food pyramid for the past decades and decades and decades. It has changed a little bit, and the next slide is going to refer to the changes. But 88% of Americans are insulin resistant. Do you think it's from maybe, just maybe, too many carbs? Take a look at the bottom of this food pyramid. It says you got to have that Lucky Charms. You got to have those Cheerios for breakfast. You got to have rice puffs and pasta. Oh my goodness, breads, pastries, bagels, pastas. What am I describing here? I am talking about carbs. And are carbs addicting? Is sugar addicting? Absolutely. It is a neurotoxin, as a matter of fact. And look where they put fats, and they put, very interesting, but they're putting meat higher up on the pyramid. As a matter of fact, can anybody even, it's almost to the top. It says meat, poultry, fish, dry beans, eggs, nuts, groups. I mean, it's like by the time you fill your plate up with breads and pastas and cereals, there's no room for a steak. There's no room for bacon. There's no room for eggs. Oh my goodness. So you're actually filling up on all these empty calories that are driving these insulin levels sky high. So no wonder this is a bit of misinformation when it comes to reality and when it comes to the drivers of what we call today chronic disease. So let's take a look at the changes that have been made with our food pyramid. They've changed it a little bit. Now notice all they did was rearrange a few little things, and they added with the food guide. Let's take a look at it. They've now just added oils, became a smaller visual representation. So it actually, they lowered the oils, and the grains is still the majority of the food intake. The grains are still the major food intake in the food pyramid. And then it says fats, oils, and sweets have a surprisingly large visual portion. Now, why in the world would they put sugar next to fats? Does that make sense that they would put sugar next to fats? Interesting. Not unless it's an Oreo cookie made with hydrogenated oil and sugar. That's what they mean, right? Surely. So then you have choosemyplate.gov, which is another government subsidy funded organization that is pushing nutrition and saying, okay, so let's take a look at here. On this plate, the majority of it is grain, vegetables, grains, fruits, and protein. So let's take a look at what they're referring to, because the truth is in the pudding, right? So the truth is, what does the plate really look like when it gets to the school lunches? What does a plate really look like when it gets to the child that is being funded? So this actually is a chart that was representing one of the major universities. It's the Food Compass Score Comparison, which is their latest research on the new food pyramid. Is it insane? Well, let's take a look at this. A major university really did spend 3 years and millions of dollars of NIH funding to tell us frosted mini wheats and Honey Nut Cheerios are health foods. Now, folks, I'm not making this up. This just was released. According to Tufts Food Compass, which they tout as the most comprehensive and science-based nutrient profiling systems to date, Lucky Charms are healthier than whole milk, more than twice as healthy as beef, and better for you than a baked potato or green beans. This study was funded by the NIH and big food corporations. Now, are you getting a little bigger picture that this is rigged? Tens of millions of dollars were giving to this research by big pharma and NIH and big food companies. Then they take this study with the NIH seal of approval and push for government funding for processed foods like Lucky Charms to give to our children. Well, after all, the NIH says after 3 years of study, it shows Lucky Charms is healthier than a steak or a hamburger. This is a violent weapon used to destroy our children's cells and drive chronic disease. The result, I don't care who's involved in it, is pure evil. Take a look at the chart. Folks, they said ground beef was the least healthiest. They said dairy, eggs, butter was the least healthiest. They're showing here that Lucky Charms was more healthy than ground beef. Folks, this is evil at its finest. So this is actually what a school lunch actually looks like once they get all this to the finality of what's put in front of our children every day. Government-funded food programs for children. Here's a picture of the fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and nuts. Do you see any real food on these plates? Oh my goodness, Rice Krispies. Oh my goodness. You see Rice Krispies, you see packaged old fruit cups and puddings and donuts and chips. It's all sugar, processed carbs. Wow. Empty calories that drive diabetes, that drive obesity. 25% of our children are already pre-diabetic. 40% are clinically obese. 15% have fatty liver disease, and sugar consumption has increased over 100% in the past 50 years. That, folks, is a travesty. It's evil what is being done. Food has been weaponized, and we have got to become aware of what is happening and protect our children, especially from the damage that is being done for their future. It is stated that our children, this is the first generation in history that will not outlive their parents. Are you getting a picture as to why they're saying this? Wow. So then you might say, remember when they say that meat was the least healthiest? So there's a big push for vegan. So they're pushing the vegan plate for our children. This is what a vegan version plate looks like for our children. Oh my goodness. Frauds like the food compass and the plant-based push in hospitals and schools are just thinly disguised ploys by big food to push more of their high margin processed products on the American consumer. Health consequences will be catastrophic. Wow. So this is happening right before our very eyes. It's on our watch. It's in our generation. We're the ones that should be raising a banner and a standard to make a difference. So the game of nutrition is actually rigged from the top, cascading down. Coca-Cola has spent millions creating and funding Global Balance Network. So they're pouring not hundreds, not thousands, not billions, but millions into creating a culture of addicted children to the sugars and the carbs. And so we're seeing this with organizations called Balance Network, invented to promote energy balance. Okay, so it all has those nice, healthy buzzwords on the outside. But again, the proof is in the pudding. In addition to starting questionable marketing organizations, they started funding research. They actually fund government research. Yes, you heard that. They fund government research. Yes, did you know who actually funded the diabetes research for diabetes nutrition? Was Coca-Cola. Oh my goodness. That's because they want to make sure it has the end result, the outcome. It's called outcome-based education, right? For a reason. So they want it to be in their favor. Kind of like, remind you a little bit about the tobacco industry years ago when they kept saying, oh, your doctor smokes cigarettes. His favorite is Camels, right? And they advertised this. And they told you how there was no link between cigarette, tobacco, and cancer. That's all in your head, right? Just moms and women that were raising up saying, no, 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 we don't want to propagate a culture that is addicted to tobacco. Well, we know in the court of law with the toxicologists giving their testimony, their expert testimonies in a court of law, yes, we saw the real science behind it, and the real science actually said tobacco is a major contributor, and they changed the label saying warning, warning, warning. They should do the same thing with Rice Krispies and Lucky Charms, but no. So here you see that Coke is providing the millions of dollars for research for universities, health organizations, and it's not just Coca-Cola, it's Procter and Gamble, and it's other companies that actually do this research also right along with Coke in order to make sure that it comes out in their favor. So original food. See, the enemy, if you have an enemy, wouldn't the enemy want to destroy what is good for you? And that's how the enemy works, right? So the enemy destroys the original so they can remake it artificially. Put God's version down and uptake man's new version of food. I smell something fishy here. When you run out of materials to build through an artificial crisis, okay, so you create an artificial crisis, we're running out of food, and then you create an artificial food to meet the need that replaces the original. Fake food comprises today in the marketplace of 67% of food is coming from this fake food source. Empty calorie fake food. It's the devil's bargain. Oh boy, cheap food with high risk of disease. See, if you gamble with your health, it is not wise to gamble with your health because folks, we're losing. It's rigged. It's like going to Vegas and going in and gambling. It's rigged. So essential nutrients for the vessel's journey. So you and I are made just alike. I don't care what culture, what background, what ethnicity, what color skin you have, what title you have on your name. Your cells look just like my cells. Your blood is red, just like my blood is red. And your cells feed on the same thing that my cells feed on. And they're actually designed like little factories, just like everybody else's cells that are designed like little factories to produce energy. You have cells in your body for one reason, and that is to nurture and nourish your tissue, your bones, your organs, your glands, and then to produce energy to turn the lights on every day, energy to motivate you to get up out of bed every day, energy to create, energy to actually have a sound mind, energy to actually be happy and joyful about your future, and to be able to find solutions to problems. Because if you're depressed and you're malnourished, then you're not going to have much energy to find solutions to problems. And folks, there right now is more problems than solutions out there. So we need functioning minds, functioning hearts, functioning brains, and functioning lungs, functioning bodies at your highest possible possibilities and opportunities to make a difference and find solutions. Now, not enough nutrients in the soil has been our number one issue, going right back to the soil. And now the soil's been deprived. And one of the first things that they noticed way back in the 1920s and 30s was a depletion of magnesium. And you could actually look up in some of the USDA agriculture accounts on how it was so alarming that they actually said we need to warn the American people because of the level of deficiency in magnesium alone. And the response of our government at the time, the USDA, was, oh, no, the American people are too sensitive. They can't handle that kind of trauma. And so we can't tell them how alarming it is. Oh my goodness. So not enough nutrients to supply the body. So the body running out of building materials, and the building materials to keep the lights on and the energy flowing. We get into a state of starvation, even though we're alive, we're breathing, but yet we're just not up to optimal potential. It is a form of starvation. Whenever you see a child that can't stay awake at school because they had Rice Krispies for breakfast and a bagel and a glass of orange juice, or whether you see somebody that's not working to potential on his job or on their job because they're falling asleep, or the brain just keeps wandering around and not able to stay on task. These are all brain starvation symptoms. Lack of means not enough to meet the need. And 110 billion is spent on food stamps. Well, guess what? 10% of this funding goes, if 110 billion is spent on food stamps, 10% of this funding goes to soda. I want you to see that word. 10% of that funding goes to soda. Soda is the #1 driver of childhood obesity and diabetes. That's irrefutable evidence. Oh my goodness. And 70% goes to processed foods. I don't know about you, but it brings tears to my eyes to know this, that it's funneling in, it's rigged, it's a powerful push to bring destructive forces to our children. So what essentials are we taking in then? Well, grain oil feed the cells. We've learned that, and working with the grains and their powerful oils. So it's not the gluten, it's not the calories, and it's not the carbs, but there's something found in grains that God put originally in our grains that is so powerful that it has the power to drive balance or drive chaos and disorder, depending on whether or not these oils are present in the body. I call it lipid therapy for cellular function. So we have gone from 4 ancient grains from the original that Jesus ate, that pharaohs ate. We've gone from 4 to now thousands of varieties of wheat alone. So what have we lost in the process? Here's my question. Every time you process something, you take something good out. So you have to replace it with something that is suboptimal at the least, at the best, and downright poison at the least. Oh my goodness. So we are built from the foods we eat. So if you're going to build a house of health, you're going to have to start with real whole food nutrition. Wow. So let's take a look at some of the things that are missing from processed grains. Is your B vitamins, your magnesium, your zinc, your potassium, your copper, more of your B vitamins, iron, and some protein properties. That's what's missing. And so when they say that a label has been enriched or fortified, that means they've gone into a lab and they have introduced cheap synthetic forms of B vitamins, cheap and synthetic non-human forms of iron or minerals, zinc. And this is why I'll have to do this in a class sometime, but I've taken a box of Kellogg's cereal and I put it in a blender with 3 cups of water. I blend it for 3 minutes, and then I take a magnet in there and it collects all of the shards of metal, which is the iron and the zinc that cereal has been, quote, fortified with or enriched with. Now, what do you think that does to the precious vessel, your body, that's made of living tissue that is dependent on living sources of food to nourish that tissue? Oh my goodness, it's like it freaks out because it becomes a weapon rather than a nourishment. Wow. Wow. So taking a look, food stripped of its original power. In the 1930s, what happens when food is stripped of its original power? In the 1930s, food scientists realized that refined grains weren't providing enough nutrients. Now, they were smart enough to identify this from the 1930s. And I'm going to show you another research that was done recently along those same lines. So eaters, particularly who suffers the most, are our weak and our vulnerable, which is our children that are growing strong bones, that are developing their immune system, and our elderly that has been also their immune system has been weakened from not being nourished. Thus, grain enrichment and fortification became a standard. This has often led grain processors to claim that all grain produced products are healthy, when in fact, manufacturers needed to replace many of the nutrients that processing removed in the first place. So why would you want to mess with something that's perfect from the beginning? Maybe because there's bigger profit margins to be had when you do. How about this one? Price paid when you mess with the best? In 1900s, 8 out of 10 loaves of bread eaten in the US were made at home. By 1924, that figure dropped to 3 out of 10. Can you think of someone that takes fresh grain, grinds it up, and bakes their bread every day? I know probably about 5 people that do that. The majority do not. And I only know them because I'm into nutrition. Some experts claim that if you replace refined greens with whole versions, cancer rates would decrease by 40%. This is just one foundation nutrition that they've messed with, that you could say if it can reduce your or decrease cancer by nearly 40%, would you say that because of the absence of these grain oils that it has increased cancer by 40%? Some feel that refined grains are to blame for the countless causes and cases of just high blood pressure. And high blood pressure is a contributing factor to cardiovascular diseases and strokes and neurological issues, which are all part of chronic diseases. Let's take a look. Rich in nutrients on the left side, or enriched artificially. Enriched flour, wheat flour, niacin, reduced iron, thiamine, again. And you could even splash in a little organic cane sugar. Is it okay if it's organic sugar? This is hilarious marketing. This is for those that just go for the organic. They go for the organic, but they're not seeing and connecting the whole picture of labels. So taking a look at this, is the only thing organic in here is cane sugar? How about the soybean? How about the partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil? Now, how many times? Cotton? Come on now. Yes, it's in our processed foods. Cotton oils, brown sugars. Oh my goodness. So yes, you see that happening right here in our foods. Now, the foods on the left, can you pick that food, or can you shoot it, pick it, or catch it in some way or fashion? Yes, the food on the left, you can. Look. And processing through, growing it naturally, growing it not artificially, but naturally. So whole food for the whole body. Your brain especially needs good food, whole food, good fatty acids, omegas, dark green leafy vegetables, antioxidants, turmeric, blueberries, strawberries, nuts, and some of the legumes that are on here all thrive. Your brain thrives on this great nutrition. Your brain can't thrive on a bowl of cereal for breakfast. Oh my. So taking a look, eat as close to nature as possible. So let's take a look at what are we going to first eliminate. The top 3 things that I'm going to recommend that you need to eliminate immediately out of your pantry and refrigerator and your lifestyle is grains. And when I'm talking about grains, I'm talking about processed grains. I'm talking about processed grains. If you're getting your grain whole and you're grinding it and baking your bread, that's a different story. There's very few breads in the market that actually are freshly done, and it's usually in the frozen food section. There's a brand that I like called Berlin, and there's another brand that I like called Base Culture. Those are the only two brands that I would recommend because they only have about 5 basic ingredients, which is the butter and salt and eggs, and they are freshly done, and that's why they're in the frozen food section. So get rid of all grains, and that includes pasta, that includes pastries, that includes cakes and pies and all cookies and all those things. You can actually find alternative recipes. I've been experimenting with all kinds of alternative grains, and I've really made some wonderful recipes that are very delightful and kind of meet that sweet tooth need every now and again. The next one is going to be sugar, eliminating sugar from your diet. And we're talking about all sugar. I don't care if it's organic or not, sugar is sugar, because what it does is it spikes the blood sugar. And so we don't want an insulin rush. We don't want a flood of glucose in the body where the pancreas has to shoot out insulin, because you become insulin resistant. When I talked about 25% of our children are already pre-diabetic, that's what we're talking about. They're already insulin resistant, experiencing that. And so sugar, so there are alternatives. I've done some other classes about kicking the sugar habit that talks about some alternatives. Some of my favorite alternatives is called Whole Earth, which is a natural blend of erythritol, stevia, and a monk fruit. Another one that I have found that I've been sharing in the class is it's called, is it Stavita? StavitaNaturals.com. StavitaNaturals.com. And that's a product from Brazil. It is actually comes in liquid and powder. And I love using it in some of my teas. And you also can get it in a powder form and use it for baking. It actually has a wonderful sweet taste in the palate, and it doesn't leave kind of a bitter aftertaste like a lot of stevias do, and that's why I like it. So sometimes you can kind of back down and stop using cane sugar, and maybe start using date sugar or some other forms of sugar. There's coconut sugar, there's date sugar, honey, but they still will affect the blood sugar levels. But they are a little bit better for you than the cane sugar, and especially get rid of high fructose corn syrup. So the third one in line that is a must to get rid of out of your pantry, out of your refrigerator, is vegetable oils, seed oils, hydrogenated oils, canola oils, peanut oil, cottonseed oils. All those seed oils are all rancid. I tell people to even get rid of your salad dressings that you're buying, because I guarantee you 100% of all store-bought salad dressings, I don't care how many times it says organic on it, the oil in it is rancid. Even if you buy flaxseed oil or chia seed oil, it's very, very hard to keep it from not going rancid. And you just need to eat flaxseed or chia seed in its whole form, bake with it, cook with it, grind it yourself, and consume it immediately. You can put it in fresh baked breads and things like that. I also have a seed porridge I like to make to replace oatmeal that is really delicious. But you really need to get rid of these oils. Why? Because all three of these are your major triggers for inflammation in the body. So chronic disease has a couple of major drivers, but one of them is the things that drive inflammation, chronic inflammation. And these are the top 3 foods that drive inflammation at the cellular level. So we have to address it. We have to acknowledge it. We have to get rid of it and reduce it drastically. Seed oils were introduced in 1909, and now they're the top oils used in processing. So if you go to your favorite Chinese restaurant, guess what they're frying in? These seed oils. If you go to your favorite restaurant and you get fried chicken or fried this or fried that, guess what they're frying it in? They're frying it in one of these oils because that's cheap. And I think it was the majority, I didn't have a number here, but the majority of the oils used in the restaurant business are these highly inflammatory oils. And then the next on the list is neurotoxins of artificial sweeteners are neurotoxins. Always go toward a plant-based sweetener. Rather than an artificial sweetener, because artificial sweeteners are neurotoxins. They're drivers of inflammation. They're drivers of neurotoxicity. Go to your farmer's market. Support local farms that are around you, that are doing it right. They need a pat on the back. They need a visit from you. Bring the family. Let them know you're supporting them. You can go to eatwild.com and find your nearest farms nearest you that's doing eggs, that's doing poultry, that's doing any kind of animal husbandry, that's providing any kind of food resources for your community. So eat as close to nature as possible. I tell people, don't drink apple juice, eat the apple. Don't drink orange juice, eat the orange. God put within that apple the perfect harmony of fiber and nutrients to slow down that sugar rush and insulin response. And the orange has more than vitamin C. It's an insult, by the way, to an orange to say, all you got for me is vitamin C. Because that orange says, no, I got some magnesium, I got some I've got some potassium, I've got some manganese, I've got other flavonoids, flavons. I've got a variety of nutrition inside of me, says the orange. Don't just accuse me of only vitamin C. So God put within nature the balance of families. So meat and veggies, eat quality because you are quality. So remember, if you value you, the Word of God talks about go love your neighbor. But first of all, love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then go love your neighbor as you love yourself. So, as we consider that we were created in quality, that needs adequate amounts of quality nutrition in order to live out our lives to the best ability and potential, then we need to understand, yes, we want to put quality in our vessel. So you are meat and you get more nutrition from meat. Well, Tony has taught us that very, very powerfully, how protein plays a major part in maintaining our muscle and actually in weight loss. Vegetables are mostly carbs, so choose the ones that are grown above the ground. Thin females who are vegans also have a lot of stress issues if they stay vegan. I was one of those. and I went vegan for a year, and oh my goodness, I thought I was going to lose my mind. And I realized this is not a path for me. I thrive on protein. I thrive on meat. Gluten hurts everybody. I want everybody to understand this. You might say, well, I'm not gluten intolerant, so I can have gluten. I'm going to say this very clearly. Gluten harms everyone, because remember we talked about how they've messed with our grains. Well, they have altered the measurement of gluten in our grains, so there's more gluten than what God put in it originally, and so that's messing with your gut. And then if you spray it with glyphosate, you got Roundup ready gluten, ready to destroy your gut and create leaky gut syndrome. Oh my goodness. So, don't say, well, I can have gluten because I'm not gluten intolerant. Everyone is gluten intolerant. But nightshades and lectins do not hurt everyone. I get this question all the time. What about lectins? What about tomatoes? What about this? What about that? Lectins, you may be sensitive to lectins, but not everyone is sensitive to lectins and nightshades. You just kind of have to test it out, do a food journal, and test it out yourself to see which ones irritate you and which ones don't. And sometimes you might not see the symptoms of it until about 72 hours, 2 to 3 days later. Leafy greens are always good. Choose organic and wash with our amazing green wash to wash off the sprayed on pesticides, topical pesticides. But leafy greens are always wonderful. Eggs are fantastic if you are not sensitive. And sad to say, a lot of people who have a lot of allergies are sensitive to eggs. But if you're not, consume a lot of eggs. I got a text today saying, how many eggs can I consume? And I said, if you're not sensitive, go for a dozen. If you can afford a dozen, go for a dozen a day. Dairy has common allergies. So if you're going to choose dairy, make sure you choose a dairy that is organic. Make sure dairy should be in its raw form. We also have a raw dairy co-op, and you just contact me here in our Lakeland area for that, for milk, cheese, and butter. Also, if you're buying any kind of dairy or cheese, you want it to be packaged and in its block form. You don't want anything pre-shredded, and stay away from anything like those packaged little cellophane individual wrappers. That is not cheese. Velveeta, folks, is not cheese. Hamburger Helper is not food. And so dairy, choose foreign dairy, like from Ireland or from France, butters and cheeses that are in the block form where you have to open the package and shred. You're getting a purer form that way. And actually it tastes, the flavors, the aromas are fantastic. And if you're not sensitive to dairy, and there's things that you can do to clean out your digestive system, reset your gut, heal the leaky gut syndromes, and actually be more tolerable of the dairy and the eggs and some of the other issues. But you'll never become tolerable of the gluten issues. So eat the whole food. Eat the whole. Why? Because it has all your nutrition in it. As you're looking here, one of the big things was don't eat the yellow of the yolk of the egg. Why not? Oh, it can cause, cholesterol issues. Well, I think we've debunked that a long time ago. Get over it. If God made it, he made it good. And everything that God put within that egg can create a brand new chick. Now, the other day I was out in my backyard and I looked up and I saw a little pond duck and she had 14 little chicks following her. And I just was reminded, oh my goodness, here it is. Those eggs were planted as the seed, and everything in that yolk was present to produce a brand new chicken. And it's quite amazing. So you got vitamin A in that egg yolk that you need. As a matter of fact, the very nutrients that are in egg yolks is what helps reduce oxidative cholesterol in the body. Oh my goodness. How about vitamin E and vitamin C and vitamin D and minerals and carotenoids and flavonoids and amino acids, polyphenols, enzymes, super Bs, CoQ10s, probiotics, and cruciferous, just to name a few of this amazing family of nutrients that are found in human whole food sources. Now, in this skillet, it reminds me of Tony. That's why I picked this picture, because I can see Tony sticking in some asparagus, some mushrooms, and several eggs. I know the bacon's missing, but I'm sure Tony's got a whole pan devoted to just bacon. So you can see here, there is nutrition that is found in human whole foods that man cannot imitate. No matter how hard he tries out of a lab, he just can't get it right. So I want to talk about what Neolife provides to fill the gap, the missing gap from our food, because nutrition is essential, and filling the gap in today's world is essential. And we're going to start with something that I call lipid therapy. Now, from now on, you guys are not going to hear me call Treanin anything else but lipid therapy. Lipid stands for fats, lipid therapy. And why? Because I'm going to share a few of the things that this lipid concentrate, grain concentrate, does inside the living cells of your body. The biggest influencer of cellular function is this lipid therapy that's found in Treanin. Cell membrane treatment. You gotta treat the cell. You have to start all treatment at the cellular level. If you're missing the cellular level treatment, you're missing the whole House of Health foundation. Stabilizing health at the cellular level is essential. Cell signaling. So in other words, if the signals get messed up, get confused, and chaos are dropped, we're in trouble because we're not communicating. How long would your marriage last if you no longer communicated? Big question. How long would your job last if you stop communicating? Big question. Wow. How about your cells? You got trillions of them running around, and they need to communicate accurately. And if they're getting crossed, mixed signals, you're in trouble. Heals the cell's dysfunction. So these lipids actually help the cells restore the dysfunction that's going on inside the cell. Protects the cell like a skin. So your skin is your largest organ. It's your largest detox and protective organ. So it actually is present to protect. It holds all this water inside, all your blood, all your interstitial fluid. It holds your organs together. It holds everything in place. Your eyes, your ears, your skin is a vital organ. It's the same thing with a cell membrane. Think of the membrane as doing the same function as your skin on the outside of your body. Nervous system control function. What? Yes, the membrane is in control of your nervous system control function. So you got all these nerves all over your body that communicate, and your cell membrane is what communicates your nervous system. Electrical charged for protection repels and attracts. So it has the ability to say, oh no, you're not a nutrient. You don't belong inside the cell. Oh, come on in. You're a vitamin C. Come on in. You're a vitamin B. Oh, come on in. You're a mineral. You're a nutrient. Invited in. So it has the ability to repel the bad, the toxin, the invader, the intruder, and to invite in the nourishing parts that are going to bring energy and protection inside the cell. It binds and loosens as a protective mechanism. So it's able to bind up the toxin and actually toss it to the side rather than allow it inside the cell. It binds and it loosens the healing properties, the healing mechanisms of the cell. It's an insulator, so it protects just like a protection of an insulator. It's a filter. It's able to filter, and it's a language that is a barrier that knows the difference between a terrorist and a friendly foe. Woo! So it's a moat between the outside and the inside. Why did they build a castle? And then why did they put a moat around the castle? Because it was the protection of the castle. Who lived in the castle? Usually it was royalty, nobility, kings and queens that lived in that castle, that held a big part of government or over the country. So they had a lot of enemies, right? Well, guess what? Your cell has a lot of enemies. Your cells have more enemies today than they did 50 years ago or 100 years ago. Oh my goodness. So it's a moat that protects the inside function mechanisms of creating energy, cellular immunity, ubiquitin cell marking for destroy. It means that it actually has its own immune system built within your cell membrane. Your cell membrane has its own immune system built within it. So it's able to detect enemies. It's able to detect virus, bacteria, toxins, pesticides, heavy metals, all of those, and it's able to seek out and destroy them before they destroy you. Learning center. It's the learning center. It can relearn the cell, reboot the cell, and boost the cell for extra protection. So it can actually relearn the cell to recreate another healthy cell. So these are some of the things that I've been so excited to share about the properties of the TRAN and what it does for the living cell. And all nutrition has to start with lipid therapy. So our TRAN has a proven performance. So it's shown in Texas A&M University. Then it's not in our diets. You can't find it in your diets today. They took it out way back in the late 30s and 40s. And so they found that in 2003, overall growth and development, nutrient utilization, efficiency, and cardiovascular development was greatly improved when these three oil concentrates were present inside the living cells. So all nutrition starts with lipid therapy. Then lipid therapy, a recent published 27-year global diet analysis found that the #1 factor responsible for deaths in the United States is a lack of true whole grains. How long have they been telling us to eat grains? For a long time. Do we eat tons of grains? Yes, but it's not true grains. It's fake food. It's fake grains. Your grains have to contain living lipids for lipid therapy for cellular nutrition. Treanin feeds your cells by providing the whole grain lipids and sterols missing in your grocery store by your whole grain foods. A bread can even say whole grain. If you look on the label, there's no whole grain found in it. It can even say ancient grain, and there be no grains in it. It's quite interesting how you can read a label, how it can say one thing and mean something totally different. It enhances your energy by increasing the flexibility of your cell membrane. So it's all about energy. You and I are energy, and it's all about fighting for our right for energy at the cellular level. Because if you're not getting the proper amount of energy, the mitochondria performance goes down. If the mitochondria performance goes down, chronic disease goes up. You got to have a healthy cell. You got to have a healthy cell. I say without lipid therapy, your cells are starved, stupid, and constipated. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine you walking around all day long, starved, stupid, and constipated? One miserable creature. So give your cells some relief and give your cells some training. Wow. So a powerful and plenty. Let's get some dark colored fruits and vegetables into our diet. Let's start with our carotenoid complex, our flavonoids, and our cruciferous. These are amazing families of nutrients. There's thousands of them found in nature, and it was Neolife, then their technologies, their research that was able to harness the potential of these family nutrients. So we have the equivalent of 250 pounds of raw, dark colored fruits and vegetables when you take 3 of our carotenoids a day. If you take 1, it's 80 pounds of dark colored fruits and vegetables. I don't know about you, but I cannot consume over 3 pounds of veggies today. We have in the living room, we have, for those who come in person, we have fruits and vegetables available from our food bank. And tonight we've got some peppers, and we've got some bananas and tomatoes and a couple of other things. But I'm telling you, I could not eat a bushel of those every single day. But if I take my carotenoid complex, I'm getting my concentrated whole food nutrition that way. Wow. And it's the same thing, because in the phytodefense, you're getting flavonoids, you get 2 flavonoids and a cruciferous. If anybody is battling a chronic disease, especially the C word, and I ain't talking, you know what, I'm talking the CA word, then I would highly recommend you take the phytodefense and take a lot of it, because it's going to be your biggest powerful punch defense at the cellular level for addressing the issues of boosting and building your immune system, and providing the flavonoids that actually push back the acceleration of irregular cellular proliferation. And then the cruciferous that was actually shown to turn a healthy, an unhealthy cell back into a healthy cell. So these were tests that was done at the Southern Cancer Research Institute, and it was shown the power of flavonoids actually worked better than a lot of the medications that they're being given after treatment, slowing down the irregular cell proliferation by 90%. That's huge. That's a major difference. So here's the This is where nutrition starts. It starts with our core foundation, Pro Vitality and the protein shake, because you're going to get that vitamin A, that vitamin C, that vitamin D, that vitamin E. Oh my goodness. And that's why I included the phytodefense with the class tonight, because you're going to get the cruciferous and the flavonoids along with those families of nutrients. But this is going to cover about 59 nutrient families that your body needs on a daily basis. And you're going to cover most of those bases right here with the core nutrition. And as you can see, the 4 nutrients, one of them is the TRANN, the salmon oil is the other one, a carotenoid is the other one, and 21 vitamins and minerals, all from a trusted source of nutrition, whole human food nutrition. So the Pro Vitality Pack, again, the TRANN grain concentrates. Remember, folks, it's lipid therapy. It's all about lipid therapy. Feed your cells, enhance your cells, create energy at the cellular level. Carotenoid complex, which is boost your immune system, reduce oxidative damage. Omegas balance irregular cells and slow down the inflammatory index. And that 21 vitamins and minerals are all power packed in the Pro Vitality. Then why you need quality nutrition? You need quality nutrition because China is not cutting it. Don't go to China for your nutrition. Can you imagine if all the vitamins, now I'm gonna listen carefully, if all the vitamins that comes from China was in the basket of the balloon floating over North Carolina, fell out, would people scramble to take those Chinese vitamins? No. So why do we go and pull them off the shelf of Wally Mart and CVS and GNC? It's coming from the same sources, folks. Why do you need quality? Because you are quality. You were created by design for quality. Why Neolife? Because it's complete. It operates under a dependable pharmaceutical licensing. It's totally pure. They do not allow any toxins. They test for over 200 families of toxins with a 0 tolerance. It's clinically proven. We work with over 2,600 healthcare professionals worldwide in clinics around the world doing clinical human studies to post in peer-reviewed medical journals. The benefit you're going to get when you really get the human whole food concentrate. Pro Vitality solution, powerful nutrients that support abundant energy, powerful antioxidant protection, lifelong heart health, optimum immune strength, brain health function, flexible, healthy joints, clear vision, youthful skin, hair, and nails, and lifelong cellular health. Folks, it doesn't get better than this. I have not found a company with these standards, the quality standards, anywhere in the industry, in the world. We've got the best in the world. And I believe with all my heart that God's hand has been on this research company for 65 years, privately owned, because the man who owns this company is a good steward. He's a godly man, and he understands being a good steward over a good thing. Wow. Amazing. So why Neolife? Neolife owns and operates a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility that surpasses the most stringent global GMP standards of manufacturing regulations. This includes a drug licensing from the state of California. It also includes a therapeutic goods administration from Australia, which incidentally is one of the highest standards internationally, which is very few manufacturers in the United States are able to even obtain this seal. Neolife holds these licenses and others because of their exceptional quality standards. Neolife has been in business for 65 years. They started from a 10-year hospital university study, and out of it came these amazing lipid therapy NN. Amazing results. So what are some of your benefits? Okay, what you lose when you disrespect your body? Well, you lose your health. This is the cycle of chronic disease. You lose your energy, your ability to get up and go on your own. You lose your mental clarity, your ability to create and think on your own. You lose your motivation to take action when you need to take action, to love at the potential that you're capable of loving, the potential that you're capable of giving and serving, ability to fight for freedom and justice. Now is the best, if not now, when to get up and fight for freedom and for justice. As I talked in this particular class about what's being done to our children, we should be alarmed. We should be very alarmed about that. But if you're sitting there and you're not even stirred in your heart at all or in your mind at all, it's because you're malnourished and your brain is not being fed the lipids therapy that you need. Relationships of the highest potential on your and family relationships, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. How about time freedom? How about money freedom? These are areas that are affected greatly because of chronic disease. I have watched so many families that have saved their whole life, and they get to retirement age, and then they suddenly find out they have one of these chronic diseases, and then they spend the rest of their life savings trying to maintain a level of health, and yet it just continually declines. How sad is that? I've seen that happen way too many times. So let's take a look at, all right, what you gain when you respect your body, divine by design. You gain energy. You gain the ability to get up and go. You gain mental clarity, ability to create, ability to think. As I've talked to people and I look at interviews of people who are in their 70s and 80s and 90s who are still getting up every day, and they're still making a positive deposit into humanity and into life because they haven't given up, because they've kept their mind sharp, because they've kept their physical bodies to a level and a degree of being healthy. They're motivated to take action when needed. They're ability for having to fight for freedom and justice. And you're seeing that. I've seen 80 plus of age writing books today that's never written, it has written in the past, but now the subject as at hand is about freedom, and it's about justice, relationships, to actually live out your life to the fullest potential of love and expression of love, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, to love your creator, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Time freedom, absolutely, not be strapped down to where you're running like a rat in a gerbil in a spinning cage all the time. Being able to take time with your family, being able to take time away and rest and collect your thoughts, and being able to, again, reserve some rest time, downtime, and vacation time, and time freedom for your family. And then money freedom to where you're not stressed out every time the bills come into monthly to be paid. You know that you have a sense of a bit of sense of security because you have provided a way for protecting for your future. And so these are the things that are most important to most people in today's world. And one of the ways that we can achieve that is through paying attention to whole food nutrition. And I can't think of a better way of doing that to start with a breakfast pack, a breakfast solution, and to share it with others, because we have quality nutrition and we have a quality message to get out there in the marketplace, and to especially help our children, because I can't tell you how many testimonies that I've gotten when we put a child on our protein shake and our salmon oil and our Super B and some of our nutrients, and how all of a sudden the school comes back and says, oh my goodness, this child is a different child. No, we just changed its form of nutrition, and then the cells of the body act accordingly. Divine order and peace and chaos is a thing of the past. Rest and sleep and energy and all of those things come from addressing whole food nutrition and introducing it into your body. So thank you so much for this time. I want to close out, and I'm going to actually stop share at this moment, and I'm going to stop the recording. So get back with the person that shared this information with you, and you have a wonderful, blessed